Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
The dark days are over. The doldrums, the silence, the endless scrolling for any scrap of Broncos news to get you through the summer, all of it is officially in the rearview mirror. Because training camp is here, and Denver just walked into it with a bombshell nobody saw coming. Sean Payton, the man who has controlled every single offensive snap call since he arrived in Denver, is stepping back. He is handing the headset to Webb. And if you think that is a small deal, buckle up, because this single decision might be the difference between another disappointing tease of a season and a team that finally breaks through. Let's rewind for a second, because you need to understand just how insane this offseason has been in its emptiness. Last year at this time, the Broncos were dropping surprise names like J.K. Dobbins into the news cycle just to keep fans occupied. This year, nothing. Silence. Sean Payton locked the operation down so tight that there was almost nothing to talk about for months. It felt like Christmas morning arrived early back in March, and now here we are in July, just waiting to actually enjoy the lights on the tree. The wait has been brutal, but it might have been worth it, because what's coming out of Broncos camp right now is nothing short of seismic. Here's the headline. For the first time since he arrived in Denver, Sean Payton will not be calling plays. Webb will. And before you panic, before you assume this is some sort of demotion or a sign that Payton is losing his grip, understand this. Teams do not make a change like this unless they are trying to do something fundamentally different than what came before. This is not Payton pretending to hand over control while secretly pulling every string from behind the curtain. This is a real deliberate shift in how this offense is going to operate, and the ripple effects could touch everything from tempo to personnel to how quickly guys get the ball in their hands. Think about what this actually means from a football operations standpoint. When Sean Payton was calling plays, he was doing everything at once. He was the head coach, the CEO of the franchise, and the guy in the headset all at the same time. Remember the AFC Championship game? Remember that 4th and short decision in the second half? In that one single moment, Payton had to process the weather rolling in, the Broncos' season-long analytics on 4th and 2 situations, their success rate running versus passing. Whether to roll the quarterback out or keep him in a standard drop back, all of that while also managing his own quarterback and the game clock and everything else spinning around him. That is an absurd amount of cognitive load for one human being to carry snap after snap, week after week. Now, Sean Payton doesn't have to carry any of it. He gets to be the CEO. He gets to build the culture, handle the maniacal details he's uniquely brilliant at, and let Webb take the wheel on offense. And from what's already leaking out of camp, the early returns suggest this is going to mean a far more streamlined operation, quicker play calls, faster personnel rotations, a more efficient version of this offense across the board. If you tuned into a random Broncos game last season and then flipped on a game this year, insiders are already saying you would notice the difference immediately. This isn't a cosmetic tweak. This is a structural overhaul happening right under our noses, and it might be the single most quietly important storyline of the entire Broncos offseason. So naturally, the next question everybody wants answered is simple. How long is Webb's leash? What happens if the Broncos stumble out of the gate? And remember, this early schedule is brutal. If Denver limps to something like 2-4 after 6 games, does Sean Payton swoop back in and rip the headset away? Here's the thing people are missing. This is not a if it doesn't work, we pull the plug type of arrangement. This is an investment. The Broncos didn't hand Webb the offense as some trial run with an expiration date. They made this move because they believe in him long-term, both as a play caller now and as a future head coaching candidate whenever that opportunity comes calling from another franchise. Yes, there is an emergency glass to break if things go completely off the rails. But nobody inside that building is thinking about pulling the rug out by week 7 or even at the bye week. This looks like a season-long commitment, full stop. And honestly, there might be a sneaky advantage buried in all of this that nobody is talking about. Opposing defensive coordinators have no idea what to game plan for. Nobody has tape on Webb calling plays in live NFL action. That unpredictability alone could give this offense a hot start that catches the league off guard. Now, before we get into the rookies, the contract bombshells, and the AFC West drama, if this kind of inside-the-building Broncos breakdown is exactly what you're here for, do us a favor and smash that like button right now and drop a comment telling us who you think steps up first at camp. It genuinely helps this channel grow, and we've got a lot more to unpack. Speaking of unpredictability, let's talk about the rookie class, because there is a very real chance one of these names ends up being talked about for the next decade in Denver. When it comes to which rookie makes the biggest impact this season, all signs point to running back Jonah Coleman. The path is right there in front of him. He steps into the role vacated by Tyler Batty, and depending on how camp shakes out, he could push for real touches behind the top of the depth chart. If J.K. Dobbins were to go down with an injury, Jonah Coleman looks like the logical next man up as a lead-back type option, more so than even a player like R.J. Harvey, whose role in this offense appears to be something entirely different by design. But if you're talking about which rookie changes the trajectory of this franchise over the next 10 years, the name that keeps coming up is offensive lineman Quinn Casey. Look at the contract situation on this roster. Ben Powers is set to hit the open market after this season, and all signs point toward Quinn Casey being groomed as the heir apparent at left guard. He's already turning heads by wearing the number 78, and there is a certain feeling of destiny about a Boise State product stepping into that room. General Manager George Payton has talked openly about targeting Day 3 prospects who show legitimate starter traits. And it is no coincidence that the first 2 names off the board on Day 3 were Jonah Coleman and Quinn Casey. Don't be shocked if a decade from now people look back and call that 4th-round pick one of the smartest decisions this front office ever made. And here's a fun wrinkle worth mentioning: former NFL offensive lineman Charles Leno, who has trained with some of these young prospects in the offseason, has reportedly been buzzing about just how ready Quinn Casey looks heading into his rookie year. That's the kind of endorsement that should get Broncos fans excited about what's coming down the pipeline on the offensive line for years to come. Now let's shift over to arguably the most fascinating position battle in the entire camp, the tight end room. For 2 straight seasons, this position has been a complete black hole for the Broncos offense, ranking near the bottom of the entire league in production. That is stunning when you consider Sean Payton's track record with elite tight ends throughout his coaching career. But this year, everything about that room has changed. Adam Troutman is back on a fresh 3-year deal, providing steady, reliable depth even if he isn't racking up huge target totals. Evan Engram arrives with sky-high expectations after reportedly choosing Denver specifically because of a pitch from Webb himself. And here's where it gets spicy. Young tight ends Justin Jolie and Dallin Bentley have reportedly been electric in camp, catching everything thrown their direction. Sean Payton has already been talking up this tight end room, calling one of the young pieces the breakout star of OTAs. Layer on top of that the ongoing quarterback room battle for the QB2 job between Sam Ehlinger and Jarrett Stidham, both of whom will be slinging passes to these tight ends throughout camp and preseason, and you have one of the juiciest subplots of the entire summer. If this tight end room finally lives up to its potential, it could be the single biggest difference maker for this offense in 2026. 4 different chances to finally get a real weapon at that position, and this year, the vibes suggest at least one of them is going to break through in a massive way. Now let's get into the money, because every single offseason there is a pattern with this Broncos front office, and it never fails. Right before or right at the start of training camp, a player on an expiring contract gets rewarded with a hometown discount extension. We've seen it happen with Quinn Miners, Pat Certain, Jonathan Cooper, and Zach Allen in years past. So who is next? The names in play are cornerback Riley Moss, slot corner Jaquan McMillian, receiver and return specialist Marvin Mims, safety Brandon Jones, and defensive lineman Ayoma Uwazurike. The smart money right now is on Jaquan McMillian being the guy who gets paid first. Brandon Jones is coming back from injury, and the front office will likely want to see him fully healthy and back on the field before committing to a new deal, especially since the safety market isn't exploding to the point where waiting becomes financially dangerous. Riley Moss is the truly fascinating case. He's got a first-round rookie breathing down his neck for playing time, he's dealt with penalty issues, and he's been targeted well over 220 times in his career. But he also tied for the league lead in passes defended and remains one of the fastest, most confident players on this entire roster. The Broncos may face a genuine fork in the road with him, because paying an outside cornerback commands a very different price tag than paying a slot corner like Jaquan McMillian. If Riley Moss doesn't get extended, don't be shocked if there's real trade interest from other teams during camp. Teams that would happily plug him in as a starter immediately. And then there's Marvin Mims, whose situation might be the sneakiest storyline of the entire summer. There's a real belief growing that Mims could already be closer to being this offense's true wide receiver 4 than Troy Franklin, who may have already been passed on the depth chart by rookie Pat Bryant last season. Mims is one of the most dangerous return specialists in the entire NFL, and when the ball is in his hands in big moments, he shows up. If his offensive role expands even a little bit during camp, don't be surprised if he becomes a late camp extension candidate, and don't be shocked if that shakes up the receiver room even further. Now, let's talk about the rest of the AFC West, because Denver is not the only team making noise this summer, and the division race is shaping up to be an absolute dogfight. The two teams that should scare Broncos fans the most are the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers, and both of them are carrying serious question marks into the season. Patrick Mahomes is coming off a knee injury, and while almost nobody is talking about it publicly, there are real questions about whether he can return to the level he played at back in 2022. On top of that, Kansas City's offensive line has legitimate concerns, with reports of their starting left tackle showing up to camp looking noticeably lighter than you'd want for that position, and their right tackle situation reportedly unsettled as well. Yes, Kansas City added running back Kenneth Walker this offseason, and yes, as long as Andy Reid, Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones are all still on that roster, they remain a legitimate threat, but the margin for error looks thinner than it has in years. Then there's the Chargers, whose fatal flaw might be flying under the radar because of a flashy offensive hire. Los Angeles lost defensive coordinator Jesse Minter this offseason, a massive loss for a unit that depends heavily on scheme continuity, and replaced him with a coordinator making the jump from the college ranks. Meanwhile, all the offseason buzz has centered on new offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel, which has quietly overshadowed just how big a downgrade that defensive change could be. Add in the fact that star tackle Rashawn Slater is working his way back from a ruptured patellar tendon, an injury that has derailed plenty of offensive linemen throughout NFL history. And the interior of that offensive line is anything but settled. Their receiver room isn't inspiring much confidence either. Between Kansas City's aging core trying to defy time and Los Angeles' defensive downgrade and offensive line uncertainty, this division is genuinely up for grabs behind Denver. So here's where we land. The Broncos are walking into training camp with a completely restructured offensive command structure, a rookie class that could be shaping the roster for the next decade, a tight end room finally poised to matter, a wave of contract extensions on the horizon, and a division full of contenders carrying real question marks of their own. This is not a quiet summer. This is a franchise on the verge of something big, and every single one of these storylines is going to be worth watching unfold day by day at camp. If you made it this far, you already know this channel is the place to be for everything Broncos, and we are just getting started as camp rolls on. So do us a favor, smash that like button. Drop a comment with your prediction for who breaks out this camp, and make sure you're subscribed to Broncos so you never miss a single update as this season takes shape.